When you're drawing or painting an object and you want it to look three-dimensional, it helps to understand the different parts of light and the way they act on a form. So in this video, I'm giving a really brief demonstration of a drawing of an egg. You'll notice in a moment that the egg will be lit from the right-hand side. I'll talk about the parts of light, and I'll also use an approach to drawing the egg in a particular order that makes it easy to render these parts of light with the mind of a painter. So I'm going to use these drawing skills, but they're also analogous when painting. So first I used a series of small straight lines to figure out where the top, bottom, left, right of the object and its corresponding cast shadow are. Then notice that I erased a lot of those areas. I kept anything that indicated an intersection or a curve, but removed the straight areas. So now what I'm doing is I've added an area where the light terminates as it's rounding the form of the egg. And notice I put in the same value on the form shadow. That's the shadow that's on the egg, the shadow that's on the form. I made it the same value as the cast shadow, the shadow cast by the form. And then I took my paper towel and I blended everything together and kind of rubbed it all out. That I did very lightly. One of the things that it did for me automatically was put a little bit of that graphite on the front side or the lit side of the egg. What I'm doing here is simply a technique to soften that shadow, the form shadow and the cast shadow together so that they're all one value. You'll see that I make about 3 passes, and that again just puts a little bit of that shade on the front side of the egg. Now that area where the light stops is a pretty distinctive line right now, but notice I'm trying to make it soft. There's the light in the cast shadow under the egg, and there's an area within the cast shadow that's very close to the egg where I see my darkest darks. That's called the occlusion. And now, as I'm working on the egg, I'm reinforcing a part of the form shadow, again, that's the shadow on the egg, that's darker than the rest of the form shadow. And that's that area right up along the edge where the light terminates. It's called the terminator. So now you'll see that I'm erasing around the egg, and that's helping the roundness of the form show, the transition of the light as it moves away from the highlight, which I've put in a nice simple shape. Now this highlight is fairly round because it's underneath a light bulb, which is round, and the egg is fairly rounded, so it's easy to draw it in a round way. There's some main parts of light that I think about while I'm painting, and you can do the same. And that is to distinctly think this is the lit area, or the lit side, if you're thinking in objects, and the shade area. And the shade area includes 2 parts, the form shadow and the cast shadow, but it also includes the occlusion, that area right under the egg that's really dark, and that terminator area, which blends into what many people, including myself, call the core of the shadow. When I put that in, there's some light that's bouncing off the table onto the bottom of the egg. So that area looks lit up when I darken the rest of that form shadow. And that area is called reflected light. But you'll notice that I never once used an eraser to create that light. That's important because using this approach where I put in a soft, slightly darker area across the entire form shadow and the entire cast shadow unifies those 2 areas together. So they are consistently getting darker, but they're always darker than everything on the lit side. So that's an important principle not only for drawing, but also for painting. If you'd like to learn more about concepts associated with the behavior of light, watch my other video on drawing an egg. Same topic, but I'll cover some additional material. So here you see the egg is really starting to form now. and it makes sense and looks three-dimensional and round. I've overstated the terminator area just a little bit to dramatize the three-dimensionality. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends. You're also invited to visit my website at triciaratliff.com, where you can sign up for classes or even buy a painting if you'd like to make one your own.